Hey guys, this is Hetu and welcome back to ETL QA Labs. Guys, in this video we will look at agile methodology and the principles, values, etc. And also we will look at the Scrum framework, the very famous agile framework called Scrum framework, right? So this video will be divided into two parts, guys. One, first we will try to understand what is agile, what is the principles and what are the values, right? Principle and values and principles. Okay, and then we will try to understand the Scrum as a framework, right? As a framework for Agile, right? All right, guys. One second. This should be Scrum, okay? So, guys, if you see that most of the projects nowadays are using the Agile methodology only, I would say 90% of the projects are using the Agile methodology. Only 10% are using either hybrid or some other way, but most of the projects are using Agile methodology, right? So, this is very important we understand this. And also, as part of Scrum, right? So, Scrum here also, I would say 90% of projects are using the Scrum methodology only, okay? Because there are other also other framework also agile framework like Kanban and other things, but 90% projects I would say they are using also the Scrum model. So that's the reason I thought I will make a video on this, and also there are various requests on my channel, so I thought that I will cover this topic so that you all can get benefit, right? And it is very important that we understand, right? Wherever we go in the projects, we will have to use agile methodology only, and we have to work in agile environment only. So it is very important that you understand, at least you are familiar with this terminology, like what is Scrum Master, what is product backlog, etc. Right? So that's the reason I think this video is very important. Okay, guys, so let's start then, and I would like to briefly explain you why do we need Agile, right? So and then after that we will try to understand more about Agile and then Scrum methodology, etc. Okay. So first of all, guys, we used to have the traditional SDLC. That was the waterfall model, right? Waterfall model. So we were actually using the waterfall model, and in waterfall model, you know that, right? How it works. So basically, let me just recap it. So in waterfall model, everything basically flows step by step, right? So we had, in waterfall model, we have basically requirement phase, requirement uh, gathering, a requirement analysis phase, right? Then you have something called design phase. Then we have the coding phase, and we have fourth testing phase, and then we had production, right? And then this is maintenance, right? So these are the some of the phases that the waterfall model is happening, right? Now there is a problem with the waterfall model, guys, right? I'm not saying that it is only problem, but this is also cause the this is also these basically obstacles are the problems that we have seen in the waterfall model has become the root cause for agile methodology also, right? And that is how the agile methodology was invented, right? Or I would say this agile methodology has come into picture, right? Now, what are the problem basically here? There are multiple problems, okay? So first of all, we will try to understand here the problem here. So here, all the requirement, so all this requirement basically, all these phases basically requirement gathering, analysis, design, coding, testing, all the phases are dependent on each of the phases basically in the previous phases. So one of previous phase has to be completed, then only you can move to the next phase. For example, coding can only happen when you have the complete fully approved design in place, right? Otherwise you cannot move, right? And testing can only happen when all the coding is done for the entire software, the coding is done, then only you can move to testing, right? So this was the problem, guys, because let's say this was taking a lot of time to produce a shippable product, potential shippable product. This is something concept in agile methodology, which means that to get have a working software, you need to wait for very long time. So for example, I will just give an example simply. So let's say I want to design one website, or not website, I will say social media, something like Facebook, yeah. And then I will go to the IT companies and I will ask them, okay, can you please provide me quotation and timelines, how much time it will take? I need something very similar to the Facebook. Now what will happen is that IT partner will come back to me saying that, okay, it might need, let's say, I'm just taking an example, okay? It's not the correct data, guys. I was just telling you for your understanding, okay? So let's say the company will say, I will take 1 year and I will be actually following the waterfall model, and then I will be delivering the projects in 1 year, and this is the cost, etc. They will tell you, right? So they will say that, okay, this will take, let's say, 2 months, okay? Something like that, and this will take 2 months, and this will take 5 months, okay? And something like that, they will say 3 months here, right? Something like that, okay? So, guys, what is happening here basically? You see that, one second, here maybe I will put 7, right? Now, okay, not 7, 5 is okay. 4 and 9, okay, 12. 12 months. It is all done, right? 12 months. And then after that, productionization is happening, right? So in 1 year, one year time frame, these are the different phases that I will be the my complete product, the Facebook kind of social media will come into picture, right? After this. So what will happen is here the biggest problem was basically it is not easy to gather all the requirement in one go and then freeze it and then after that move to the next design phase, right? If there is any changes or any requirement change that will come during any of these phases, for example in coding phase, the whole cycle has to be iterated again. It has to again go to the requirement gathering, analysis, design. So it will take almost similar amount of time. In that case, it will take again one more year, right? So it will be 2 years basically, something like that. You understand? So this was the real problem basically, which was there in the waterfall model, because you cannot really move to the next phase until everything is covered and everything is approved, right? So that was the one problem. Other thing is, I mean, one thing is the requirement change. Other thing is many a times we do not know what is the requirement basically. We know very little about the product that you want to build. So we would like to start with that little information that we have, and then later we will, as we evolve with the more requirement, we would like that to incorporate in our software product. But here in waterfall model, we cannot do that. We cannot allow that because we need everything to be clear up front. Okay, every requirement has to be cleared. Then only we can move to the next phase, or we can even start the design phase. Okay, I mean this is the second phase, right? So that was the problem basically, and that was the biggest problem, right? And then this agile came into picture. What agile says basically, agile says that okay, let the requirement come into phase wise. Okay, we will develop whatever is clear right now, and we will take up which will the requirement which will be developing later, right? So we do not have any problem with this. Okay, and we will do one thing. We will follow something called the agile methodology. We will follow something called sprint, and sprint will be of 2 weeks. Okay, so that all these things we will cover, guys. Okay, but what we will try to understand is, let's try to understand this part actually. What is the agile, more about it, and what is values and principle. Okay, so we will try to cover little briefly here, and then after that we will move to this very interesting topic, Scrum, right? So I will use the official website, okay, Agile Manifesto, to cover this first part, okay, guys. Okay, so let me go here, and I have this. This is the official website, guys, Agile Manifesto, and here what they say, right? I mean, Agile Manifesto. Manifesto for Agile Software Development. This is the official website, and what they say is basically we have got four basic values, yeah, four basic values and 12 principles. So these are very important to understand. Four basic values and 12 principles. So now we are actually covering these values, four basic values. So these are the values, guys. Okay. Now you see that here some of them. I mean, these basically words. Basically, these words are bigger in size, which means these are more important, okay, than right hand side. Basically, these are little less important. Okay, they are important, but these are more important basically, and they are also important, but left hand side, this these words are most important. So let's try to understand then what is that, right? So four values. So four values basically as part of Agile Manifesto is individuals and interactions, okay, over process and tools. What does it mean, guys? It means that Individuals means we have very small team in Agile, right? 4 to 5 members, 4 to 6 members only. So each and every individual should be treated with the utmost dignity and respect. Okay, and there should be more and more of an interaction with the team. Okay, rather than we follow the process and tools, right? So we do not say that we do not want to follow the process and tools and all, but it should be more agile. Agile means we should have more interaction, and we should have we should be working in more coordination, in effective coordination between each of them. So this is what it means basically, individual and interaction, right? Now working software over comprehensive documentation. So now people need as part of our agile team, we focus basically on the working software, not on the documentation part much, right? So we documentation is obviously important, but most important thing is the working software. Okay, so we follow we want to make sure that the software is we actually develop the working software, right? Not focusing much of the effort on documentation part. Third thing is the customer collaboration over contract negotiation. So let's say we have a contract with customer. Okay, we will deliver this feature. But in this case, in Agile, what we do is we basically value the customer's interaction. We want to collaborate with the customer. We want to take their input formally, informally, and all. We want to incorporate that. Okay, rather than we just see that what is there written in the contract and all these things, we will take that second priority to that. But first, we will actually follow the customer what they says and what they need. It is very very customer focused. Okay, the Agile is very very customer focused, and we should listen to all the requirements and all the ask from the customer. So this is what it means. Yeah, responding to change over following a plan. So it's not, again guys, I mean, right hand side whatever we are saying, that over following a plan and all, these are not something that we are actually eliminating from the process. We have to follow this as well, but this will take the precedence, right? Left hand side, this bigger it means this bold words will take the what do you say, more priority, right? So responding to this change, which means we have to respond the change in very very agile fashion, which means in very short span of time. If customer is saying that I need this is that, then we should basically listen to that. We have to put our all energy to understand what actually customer is trying to say. So we have to basically respond to the changes rather than we follow a plan. Okay, I will come back after 2 days, 3 days, and 4 days, something like that. We cannot say all those things in Agile, because the very basis of Agile is to basically speed up the overall time to market, right? So we want to basically produce a software that can be, very efficient, and that can be delivered in very short span of time. Now we will try to understand how that everything is possible. But guys, these are the four values that are part of our Agile manifesto. Okay, and we have also got 12 different principles, guys. So I will go back there, and I don't want to read all of them. You can go and you can read it. You can browse this website, right? This is official website. So principle behind the agile so we have got 12 principle here, guys. You can just read all of them. Something like our highest priority is to satisfy the customer through early and continuous delivery of valuable software, right? So it is basically more of a customer focused and what customer want, and it is basically focusing around, more giving more attention and more priority to the people rather than process. And it should be something like, it is I mean, what customer can get benefit, right? So they basically need a working software as soon as possible, right? That is what their requirement is. They don't want to follow all those documentation, process, and other things. What they bother is basically they need the working software. So that is the whole agenda about the Agile, right? Okay, so these are all these, principles, 12 principles that you can read it, guys. I don't want to read and spend a lot of time here, but feel free to read it. I think this is something that, the Agile is, Agile has been evolved, and now it is very famous because what is the need of the customer is basically they need a working software, right? which basically work for them, and they really don't want, they don't care. I mean, they obviously care little bit, but the thing is, for example, let's say you are you go to market, right, and you buy a mobile phone, right? So with the mobile phone, they will give you a user manual also, very nice user manual, and they will make you 200 pages of user manual, very nicely written, everything, right? So, so guys, do you really care that your user manuals are good and all? No, right? You only see, you want to check whether your mobile is working fine or not, or whatever you are expecting from the mobile, it is up to your expectation or not, right? So this is similar thing for the customer also, who actually given you order to make the software for them, and they actually want to see the working software, right? They don't want to see the documentation and all, right? So that is the reason actually this agile has uh, picked up, and it is right now it has taken over all the market now, and most of the projects, as I said, 90% of projects are using this agile methodology. So that is the reason, yeah. So let's try to understand one more thing, guys. So this is what the four values and 12 principles you can go through if somebody can ask you for your information, right? And now let's try to understand, guys, what is Scrum then, right? So agile is a methodology, right? Or it will say that it is just process that we have to follow for our software development life cycle, right? But at the same time, so how to achieve it basically, right? So to achieve this, for example, we had the waterfall model, right? In waterfall model, we had all these processes that we used to do, right? Requirement gathering, design, coding, testing, and all these things, and we were actually doing all these things, right? But here we had the framework called, Scrum or Kanban. So, as I said that Scrum is mostly used, widely used. Almost 90% of the projects or the companies are using Scrum. So that we will try to understand what is Scrum, guys, right? So Scrum has we also have official website for Scrum. Okay, I will show you, and we will take the picture from there. We will try to understand right here. All right, guys. So this is the official website of Scrum, guys, right? Scrum .org. Scrum. Okay, one second, guys. I will just show you. Scrum. Yeah, scrum.org, guys. Yeah, this is the official website, and you can go to resources. You can go to what is Scrum, and then if you come down here, you will see this, right? This picture. This is the one I am explaining. Yeah. So let me go here. I have already opened it here, right? So if you look at this Scrum framework, guys, this is Scrum framework. This is called framework. Why this is framework? Because this is the process that we are going to follow in our agile methodology. Okay. So we have two popular. One is Kanban. Okay. Kanban and Scrum. Okay. I will type it here. Kanban and Scrum. Kanban is also used little bit, but Scrum is widely used, framework for the agile. So we will try to understand this Scrum, and once you understand this, most of the projects are using this only, so that you are sorted. Okay. So let me try to go here, guys. Okay. So let's try to understand what is that. So in waterfall model, what we used to do, we used to have all the requirements, okay, finalized, and then only we can proceed to the next phase, that is the design phase, right? Here that is not the case. Okay. So whatever product, whatever requirement we know right now, for example, let's say I will just put down everything into product backlog, and this is the job of who will basically put all this. It is the job of the product owner. Okay, product owner. We will try to see who all are there in the team, guys. Okay. Okay, let me do one thing. Let me try to even tell you first who all are there in the team. Okay. Okay. So there is something called Scrum team. Okay. In Scrum, right? We have called Scrum team. And Scrum team, we have got developer, we have got tester, we have got, there are two more, Scrum master, okay, and then product owner. Okay, I will tell you what is their responsibility, guys. Okay. So you know that developer will basically will develop, do the development of the product, right? Anyway, the requirement, right? We know. Tester will test it, right? Uh, Now, what is Scrum Master? These are the two different new roles that you have not seen in waterfall model, right? So this is only there in the agile methodology, right? So this is the Scrum Master, and Scrum Master is basically, responsible for many things. Okay, so he is the person who will basically clear any kind of issues or obstacle that project team is facing. So clearing obstacle, obstacles or issues, right? What is the other responsibility? He will team culture. He will be responsible for team culture basically, right? He will make sure that everyone is harmonious and everyone have a good rapport within the team, right? If there is any conflicts, etc., it is his responsibility. He should resolve it. Okay. Also, he will manage a stand-up call, right? I will tell you what is stand-up call later, but for now you understand that this is just call every day, 15 minutes call that the Scrum team will have it. Okay. Now, what else, guys? It will also, his responsibility is also to protect the team from outside interruptions, right? Interruptions. Which means if there are any other team also disturbing or they are asking for meeting or any kind of other activity, etc., he should be the one who should be actually protect the team, and he is responsible for protecting the team also. So this person is basically very key important person. He will actually, he is something like a product manager, project manager, right? That used to be there in waterfall model, something like that. But not only that, he is also responsible for other things are also, right? So this is what the responsibility of Scrum Master. The other person, additional person in the Agile is the product owner. Product owner is basically the person who will interface with client, right? Interface with client. He will talk to the client. He will take the requirement. He will be basically facilitating, the testing team, not testing team, basically the entire Scrum team between the client also. So he will get all the requirement. He will prioritize what requirement has to go later and which has to be go first and all those things. Those things this guy will do. So hopefully you are able to understand. Okay, these are the few. This is the composition of the Scrum team now, guys. Let's go back to diagram now. We will be able to understand more better now. Okay. All right, guys. Now, all the requirement, let's say here, right, is here in the product backlog, every requirement. Now, what will happen is there will be something called sprint planning. So, what is sprint, guys? Sprint, again, I will explain you here what is sprint. Sprint is basically a cycle, the time cycle, okay? It may be for 2 to 4 weeks, right? This is the time span basically, right? So, this is the sprint, okay? Sprint is a time span of. So this is also called a release cycle, guys, right? So this is also called a release cycle. Okay. So let me go back here. So what will happen is in that sprint, in 2 to 4 weeks, whatever is suitable for the team, they will the Scrum Master will decide that, right? What they will do is they will take, let's say 100 requirements are there in the product backlog. They will only take 5 requirements, let's say. So in that 5 requirement, okay, they will prioritize that. Okay, this 5 requirement has to be completed in this 2 weeks or 4 weeks. Let's say I'm taking now 2 weeks. Okay, so for 2 weeks, one sprint, I will take 10 requirements from here from the product backlog. How many will be remaining? 90 will be remaining, right? So 10 are already taken from here. Okay, 10 requirements are taken. Now they are following this 2 weeks ka cycle. All right, within 2 weeks, what will happen is this 10 requirements will come to sprint backlog now. So in sprint backlog, we have 10 requirements now. Okay. Now, this 10 requirements will go to Scrum team. Scrum team basically what they will do, they will develop, they will test, and within that 2 weeks, right? All the 10 requirements has to be completed. Basically, development, testing, everything has to be completed. And at the end of the 2 weeks, let's say today is Monday, and after 2 weeks, let's say next Friday, right? I'm going to have the potentially working product, which means for those 10 requirements, I need the 10 requirements to be completed with, it should be in working condition. My software should be ready with those 10 requirements, which means I can actually ship it to the client and client can do the testing on it, right? UAT testing basically. So after 2 weeks, I will just send it. This is called increment, right? Increment is nothing but actually I am putting into this environment. This is the environment. That's where the client actually can take a look at this software, right, which is having the 10 feature, right, and he can actually run that software and he can check, okay, within 2 weeks only he can see that, okay, my software for this particular feature is already working or not. So he can also, he or she, the client can also give a very faster feedback within 2 weeks only. As soon as we completed our sprint of 2 weeks, we can get the immediate feedback from the client also, whether it is fine or not fine. Okay, based on that, what will happen is at the end of the 2 week, the all those 10 requirements, let's say out of the 10 requirements, we have only be able to complete 8 requirements. Okay, the 2 requirements will go again to sprint backlog here. Okay, so that will go back here and 8 requirements will be here in the incremental. Now on those 8 requirements, the client or the customer will do the testing or UAT testing, whatever, and he or she will provide the feedback. Okay. Now guys, very important thing. This is daily scrum. So as I said, the stand up call here guys, right? Something here, right? I mentioned you stand up call. One second guys. Okay, stand-up call I mentioned here, right? So what is stand-up call? Stand-up call is nothing but it is here, the Scrum, daily Scrum. So daily Scrum is basically, it's a daily call between the team, which consists of development, tester, Scrum Master, and product owner sometime, right? All these people will have a daily Scrum or daily stand-up call of 15 to 20 minutes maximum, where they will be discussing what they did yesterday and what they want to do today. Each of the team members by name, they will be doing the roll call, guys. Yeah. So each of the member has to explain what they have done yesterday, what they want to do today, and is there any issue or blocker they are facing, so that Scrum Master can take care of it and he or she can resolve, right? So this is what happens in the daily Scrum call. That's why it is 15 minutes only every day. It's a quick catch up, right? Just to understand if there is any issue or blocker or something, right? One second, guys. Okay, guys, sorry. So, yeah, so this is what happens in the daily call, yeah. So that is also called a stand-up call or a scrum call, guys. So you should be, if you are working in your project in agile methodology, you might be aware that, right? This one. And so this is about it. And the increment, this is something that the potentially shippable product, which means basically this is something that the customer can actually do the testing on, provide the feedback, working software basically, yeah. So within 2 weeks only, whereas in waterfall model we were actually able to see the product only after 1 year. Means as a customer, I can only see the working product, the whole product I can see, but after 1 year, right? But here I can see working product in 2 weeks time only, right? So you see that how fast it is for any kind of feedback or any kind of response that you might need, and customer also will be very happy that his or she is actually get the products and the things are working fine, right? So this is very important. That is the reason Agile is very popular and very important nowadays, right? Because people do not have time and the companies do not have time. Even you see a lot of competition is there in the market nowadays. For example, let's say you take the example of banks, right? So one of the bank is giving one product. All of a sudden, another bank is should be ready. If you want to sustain in the market, you have to be ready with the similar kind of product uh, in very competitive timeline. Okay, maybe 1 month, 2 month, 3 months time frame only. Then only you can sustain in the market. Otherwise, the customer base will move from you to some other bank, right? So that is the reason this agile methodology will really be helpful, and you can actually achieve the time to market, right? So you can safeguard your business and all these things. That is the reason this is very popular, right? Agile methodology. Now, guys, what will happen is, so let's say after those 10 requirements, we have actually able to, deliver only 8 requirements. Two will go to sprint backlog, will be will be picked up into next sprint, right? But those eight, right? So what will happen is they will do the some sprint review. Sprint review means after deploying here, right, for the customer, they will do what went wrong and what was good thing, what we can follow, and all those kind of things, right? There's something called retrospect, you can see, right? They will basically have a team meeting and they will try to understand what went wrong, what can be improved, and how we can meet that, how we can accommodate more and more requirement, etc. So that will come as part of sprint retrospect, which means after delivery of the sprint, they will be doing all those analysis, or they will doing brainstorming basically, right? So this is called sprint retrospect. And now those two requirements will be added into sprint planning again, and they will be obviously uh, will be taken into sprint backlog. And from here we had still 90 requirement, guys, right? So out of that, what I will say, I can pull maybe 8 requirements or 10 requirements, and I'll pull it again into a sprint backlog again, right? So here again will be 10 requirements or 12 requirement based on the team's capacity, right? So if some of the requirements are, let's say, smaller in size, then you can take even 15 requirements also, right? So there is no hard and fast that you have to take this many requirements only. You have to see that what is the volume and how much work is needed. That is the reason sprint planning is required, right? In a sprint planning, we have to with all the team and all the team members, and we have to plan basically. We have to take their feedback also, whether it is doable, not doable, and all those things. Then only those requirements will be taken into sprint backlog. Again, guys, this again will follow 2 weeks of cycle, 10 requirements. Again, the same thing will be repeated until all the requirements from the product backlog is finished, right? So this is what the Scrum framework, guys. Yeah. And hopefully you are able to understand this, because this is the process that we follow everywhere, right? Wherever we are following the Scrum methodology or Scrum framework, right? So hopefully you are able to understand it. And if you remember this picture, I think, guys, it will be very easy for you. Okay. So that is the reason, yeah, this Scrum or Agile methodology is popular, because time to market is very easy. Changing the requirement at any point of time is very easy. And all these principles and, whatever we have seen, the principle and values are basically, iterating, mentioning all these things. For example, here you see that, right? The most efficient and effective method of conveying information to and within a development team is face-to-face conversation. As I said, that the people are valued more than process, right? So we need to basically work in very agile methodology. All the team will be sitting very close, in very close proximity, so that they can talk to each other, they can do a lot of conversation, and they can sort out the things very faster, and they don't need to write so many emails, etc., because that also consumes a lot of time, and sometimes it is not very effective way of communication. So that if they are sitting together, they can actually talk to each other and they can sort out the problem very faster, right? The whole purpose of agile is that only, guys, right? So we want to shorten out the development life cycle, and we want to make the product ready as soon as possible, and uh, it should be relevant all the time, right? Which means we should get the quick feedback from customer also. When you are able to deliver the product in 2 weeks, you will be basically getting the feedback very faster, right? So all those things are the principle and principle of agile, and we have already covered the values, etc., right? So guys, this is what I wanted to cover. And one more thing, guys, when it comes to team, right? So what kind of team it is? The team is basically, when I say developer and tester, it is not something that over the period of time you cannot really be developer or you cannot really be tester, right? You have to be a cross-functional team, right? Which means if some of the tester, let's say today, one of the, so it this normally team consists of, as I said that, right, 5 to 7 members only, right? Out of that, 2 members are basically, one is Scrum Master, one is Product Owner. So how many are remaining? Basically, let's say 7 members are there. In that case, for example, 5 members are only consist of development and tester, right? Sorry. In this case, let's say 3 members are developer, two members are tester. In that case, if one of the tester is not around, then the developer can also test this. So that is why That is how the team should be composed of, and they should have the cross-functional knowledge, right? So the whole idea of this agile is basically if one member is not around, some other member should be able to pick up that work if it is important, right? So that is the whole point of using the agile. You cannot say that I don't know how to test as a developer and all those things. You cannot say that because you are part of agile team and you are supposed to you know you are supposed to know. I am not saying that you should know uh, as efficient as developer knows how to code it, but you should know the basic things at least, right? So as a developer, I will say you should be knowing that how to test the things and all those things. And as a tester, there is limitation. You cannot really do the development and all, but then you can definitely contribute, some kind of analysis and all these things that developer uh, does, right? So if you as a tester, you do not have work from the testing side, you will be occupied doing the analysis or doing some other bit that's where you can contribute, right? So this is all about the methodology, guys. Yeah, what you say, the Scrum methodology, and I would recommend that you go to scrum.org and agilemanifesto.org, guys, these two website, and try to understand little more about it. Okay, and yeah, I think that's what I wanted to cover. Okay. If you still have any questions or any query, guys, I think I'm happy to answer you. But then I think I expect that you try to understand whatever I explained you. And if you still have any question, I will be answering you. And that's all for this video, guys. And see you really soon next time. And yeah, until then, happy learning. God bless you. Bye.